Right now, beneath New Zealand, there is a continent. Not a shelf, not a ridge, an entire continent, roughly the size of the Indian subcontinent, and 94% of it is underwater. For nearly 400 years, everyone who sailed past these islands assumed they were just scattered rock, poking up from the ocean floor by accident. They were wrong. New Zealand and its neighboring islands are the mountaintops of a single connected landmass, and almost the entire thing is drowned. Here's the strange part. It didn't sink because sea levels rose. It was torn apart, stretched until it lost its ability to float, and then, at least once, it came back up. So, how does a continent just disappear? And why did pulling it apart apparently help set the entire Pacific Ring of Fire on fire? In 1642, Dutch navigator Abel Tasman sailed past this coastline hunting for a legendary southern continent. He had no idea he was sailing directly over a real one. It took until 1895 for anyone to even suspect something was off, when a ship called the Henumoa took depth soundings and found the seafloor here was strangely, suspiciously shallow. But the real answer didn't arrive until 1995, when geophysicist Bruce Luyendyk gave this hidden landmass a name, Zealandia. And it took until 2017 for geologist Nick Mortimer and his team to finally prove it, publishing the case that this wasn't a cluster of underwater hills. It was Earth's 8th continent. Here's how you tell a continent from ordinary seafloor. It's not about whether it's wet. Continents are built from thick, buoyant, silica, rich rock, granite, and its cousins, while ocean floor is thin, dense basalt. Zealandia's crust runs up to 20 kilometers thick in places, made of the same granite and schist you'd find under any continent on Earth. It just happens to be sitting about a kilometer underwater instead of standing above it. Around 100 million years ago, Zealandia was locked tight against Australia and Antarctica, all part of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana. Then it started tearing away. Picture a chef stretching a ball of pizza dough, spinning it thinner and thinner across a bigger and bigger circle. That's what happened to this continent's crust, thinned from over 30 kilometers down to about 20, over tens of millions of years. And crust that thin simply can't float the way it used to. So, piece by piece, this stretched out continent began sinking into the Pacific. By about 25 million years ago, it had reached its lowest point, and for decades, scientists assumed that was the whole story, a quiet, gradual drowning. But that's not the strange part. In 2017, a drill ship called the Devoid's Resolution bored deep into the seafloor as part of an international expedition, and the sediment it pulled up rewrote everything. Buried in that mud were fossilized pollen and spores from southern beech trees and ferns, plants that only grow above water, sitting under thousands of meters of ocean. Somehow, between 50 and 35 million years ago, chunks of this drowned continent had been shoved 1 to 2 kilometers straight upward, breaching the surface entirely, growing forests, before collapsing back into the abyss. Researchers now believe this was caused by something with no modern equivalent, a subduction rupture event, essentially a super slow earthquake that took over 1 million years to finish unfolding. And this same violent upheaval is now suspected to be the exact trigger that ignited the Pacific Ring of Fire. While all this was happening, Zealandia carried passengers. When it broke away from Gondwana, it took dinosaurs, ancient forests, and archaic animals with it, stranding them on a shrinking, sinking landmass completely cut off from the rest of the planet. In the 1,970 seconds, an amateur fossil hunter named Joan Whiffen defied the scientific consensus that no dinosaurs had ever lived here, pulling theropod and mosasaur bones out of a New Zealand streambed and proving her critics wrong. Decades later, in central Otago, scientists found something even stranger, a mouse-sized mammal from 19 million years ago that fits into no known group of mammals alive today. Not placental, not marsupial, not even monotreme. It's a ghost lineage, something that split off the mammal family tree over 125 million years ago and simply survived here, alone, for tens of millions of years. Nobody knows what it looked like in full or why it vanished without a trace. If that mammal and species like the tuatara made it through Zealandia's worst drowning, then some scrap of land must have stayed above water the entire time, and geologists still argue fiercely over where. You'd think a fully mapped continent would run out of mysteries, but Zealandia keeps producing them. Off in the Kermadec Arc sits the Brothers Volcano, a submarine caldera with walls 500 meters high. hosting 8-meter-tall mineral chimneys that vent boiling metal-rich fluid into freezing water, feeding colonies of tube worms that live entirely without sunlight. And near the surface, an isolated volcanic spike called Ball's Pyramid, over 500 meters tall, was thought to hide nothing at all until climbers found 24 giant stick insects, a species presumed extinct, clinging to a single shrub on a ledge above the waves. In 2023, scientists finally finished mapping Zealandia's entire hidden extent, making it the first continent on Earth ever fully charted, coastline to drowned coastline. It solved old puzzles, like how ancient, flightless, land-bound creatures ended up isolated on tiny Pacific islands. They never crossed any ocean. The ground beneath their ancestors simply sank. So here's the question worth sitting with. If an entire continent, mountains, forests, and all, could vanish this completely and stay hidden for 4 centuries in plain sight, what else might be waiting under all that water we've already sailed across 1,000 times?